We have been going through the book of Revelation, and we are now at chapter 13. In fact, last week we looked at Revelation chapter 12, where it talks about the dragon going to make war with the woman and with the remnant of the woman's seed. Beg your pardon. And the week before, when I was away in Rowan Mountain, we had looked at a presentation where the topic was, "What is the beast?" I wasn't live, but I did put a video there, and so that presentation is already up on YouTube. Who is the beast? Not what is the beast. Who is the beast? Now today I'm going to take a little bit closer look at the question of who is the beast. So we might review some of those points that were made in that video, but we're also going to look at some other points related. So we're going to go to Revelation chapter 13, and we will use that as our starting point for our study this afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I want us to remember that if there are any points that need clarification, then in our afternoon session, I don't mind if you ask the question. All right, so Revelation chapter 13. Now, let me begin by saying that I know there are some deep-rooted traditional ideas concerning what Revelation 13 means and concerning this beast that we see in Revelation chapter 13. But some of what I will share this afternoon will be a little different. But I promise you that even if I don't have all the answers, I will try to give a good answer for what I believe. All right. So, as we always say, we put the evidence out there, we put the facts out there, and then people can draw their own conclusions. So anyway, we start with Revelation 13, and it says in verse 1, as a matter of fact, look at the right panel, as was pointed out in that video presentation. In the King James Version, John says, "I stood upon the sand of the sea." But in every other version, it says, "The dragon stood on the sand of the seashore." And I think that that makes more sense because in the vision, John is in heaven. He's not standing on the seashore, he's in heaven. So John, I believe what John says, he stood, that is, the dragon stood on the seashore. And why is he standing there? Because he's about to call his baby. There's
Brother
somebody
David?
on. Yes?
Yes, Brother David. Are you recording? And I'm just not noticing it.
Yes, Sister Iris.
Okay, and are we supposed to be able to see your Bible because I can't see it?
Are the rest of us able to see the Bible?
I'm seeing it.
You see it?
I see it.
I'm able to see it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Maybe I'll
All
leave
right.
and come back. I'll leave and come back.
Sure, Sister Iris.
Okay. Thank
You're welcome. All right. So what we see is that the dragon stands on the sand of the seashore, and then a beast comes up. And the idea behind it is that Satan is bringing up his tool that he's going to use to make war against the remnant. You remember that in chapter 12, the last thing we saw in chapter 12 was that the dragon was wroth with the woman. This is what we looked at last week. The dragon was angry with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which is identified as those who keep the commandments, or the seed which keeps the commandments of God and has the testimony of Jesus Christ. So that's the last thing we saw in chapter 12. And you know that there are no chapter divisions. So immediately, John continues by saying, "And he, the dragon, went to stand on the seashore." And why does he stand there? Because he's going to call up his baby. He's going to call up his messenger. He's going to call up his tool that he will use. So he stands on the seashore, and John says, I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads. On his horns were crowns, diadems, and on his heads were blasphemous names. So I wanted to make that connection to show us that this the person who stands on the seashore is the dragon, and he stands there to call up the beast. And why does he call up the beast? Because the beast is going to be his tool for making war upon the people of God. I want to just emphasize that the conflict is between Satan and God. But Jesus is God's representative. So he stands in the place of God. And so the conflict is between Satan and Jesus. So Satan calls up the beast to do his bidding. And of course, Jesus calls the remnant. Those are the two powers that we are going to see in antagonism. Satan calls up the beast, and Jesus is working through the remnant. So these are the two confrontational forces that will be on the earth. In the background, it's Jesus working and Satan working through these two entities. Now, let me read a little bit what it says about this beast and the work that he does. Now, we know what he looks like. He has the feet of a bear, the body of a leopard, and the mouth of a lion. It says that in verse 2. The dragon, when he calls up this beast, he gives him his power, he gives him his seat, and he gives him great authority. Now, let me make the point that many believe that this beast represents the papacy or the Roman Catholic institution. And they will suggest that Satan gave his power to the papacy, and the Pope carries that power today. And he carries great authority. They will go back to 538, or even a little earlier, when they say Constantine gave power to the Roman Church, and then the Pope, later on, the Pope received authority as the ruler in Christendom. They will go through some of this, and they will point out that this entity is the papacy. Now, I'm going to show you reasons. We have been through these reasons before, but I'm going to reinforce some of those reasons why I don't believe that this beast can be the papacy. He goes on to say in verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. It is believed that this deadly wound was inflicted. This deadly wound was inflicted when the Pope was taken captive by the armies of Napoleon, and for 2 years there was no Pope in the Catholic Church. And so it is believed that that is when the papacy received a deadly wound in 1780. No, 1798. 1798. I'm even forgetting the dates because I'm not using them much these days anymore. Anyway, but it is believed that this wound was healed in 1930 when the Italian government restored power to the Pope, gave him a piece of land, and he was restored to temporal power. So that's the belief. Okay, that's not what I believe at all, but I'm giving you this idea. We are going to look at what I think this means and why I think it means what I am going to suggest. I'm going to give you the reasons, and I know that many of us have this background. What I suggested first, that is what we have in our minds. This is a teaching of Seventh-day Adventism. As I pointed out I think it was last week, Adventists have a historicist view of the prophecies. They believe most of it was fulfilled in the past. Based on what I can see, I believe that most of it is still in the future. But I will explain why I don't agree with that view, and I'll explain what I think this deadly wound means and what I think is the work of this beast. So let's go on a little bit. In verse 4 it says, and they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? So it goes on to say, there was given him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. Now again, it is believed that this 42 months represents 1,260 days, or years, 1,260 years. It is said a day represents a year in prophetic reckoning. And that is true sometimes. But is it true here? Well, we will discuss this also a little bit more as we continue. So, it says power was given unto him to continue 42 months. In literal time, this would be 3.5 years. But if it is true that a day represents a year, 3.5 years would be 1260 days. 360 multiplied by 3.5 would be 1260 days, and that would have represented 1260 years. But if it is literal time, then it's just literally 42 months. It's literally 3.5 years. It goes on to say that he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given to him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. And then it says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. Now in the King James Version it says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And of course, it is said by those who have the historicist interpretation that what this means is that the Pope was going to be taken captive. He was going to be killed with the sword, or the papacy was going to be killed with the sword, because it was in warfare that Napoleon sent his armies to take the Pope captive. He was made a prisoner for 2 years, and then he died in captivity. And it is said that here the papacy received a deadly wound, and it continued to be wounded until 1929, when temporal power was restored to the papacy. Now, all right, we have gone through all of that. I'm going to show you reasons why I have a different view. And you know, if you don't agree with my view, then of course we always have the opportunity to discuss it at the end. I will make sure we have that opportunity. But at the very least, I'm going to show you strong reasons why I disagree with that historicist interpretation. All right? Now, let me go back to my Bible and let me show you. I agree that there is a strong reason why that historicist application seems to make sense. It seems to make sense. There are some ways in which it makes a lot of sense. I agree with this. And I'm going to show you one reason. If you go to Daniel, the book of Daniel, let's go to Daniel chapter 7, and I'll show you something. And as a matter of fact, I want to give you Revelation 13 in the right panel. Revelation 13. I want to show you the similarity between Daniel 7 and Revelation 13. I want to be open and honest. I want us to look at this thing with clear eyes. Now, in Daniel 7, it talks about the 4 beasts. We looked at that this morning, We saw that there was a lion, the bear, the leopard, and the great and terrible beast. Now, on the head of this terrible beast, there were 10 horns. It had 10 horns. And among these 10 horns, there came up another little horn, which uprooted 3 of the first horns, plucked them up by the roots. And in this horn were the eyes like the eyes of a man, and it had a mouth speaking great things. Now, we are told more about this horn later down in the chapter. Let's go down where it says that in verse 21, I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. So the horn speaks great words against God, a mouth that speaks very great things. And the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. And I think it says further down in verse 25, this little horn, he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand for until a time, and the times, and the dividing of time. This is a verse that convinces people that it is the same power being referred to in Revelation 13, because it says in Revelation 13 about this little horn. Let me use the King James Version. There was given him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. Look at those two passages, and they seem to be speaking of the same power. The one in Daniel 7 speaks great words against the Most High. The one in Revelation 13 speaks great things and blasphemies. The one in Daniel 7 is said to continue for a time. That's one. Times, that is 2. And the dividing of time, that's half a time. 3.5 times or 3.5 years would work out to 1260 days. And in the book of Daniel, it is clearly demonstrated that a day represents a year. So we have 1,260 years in Daniel. So when you come to Revelation, it's easy to conclude that it's talking about the same power. So the horn in Daniel 7, let's look at the horn in Daniel 7 and just settle something. Remember, there are four animals, 4 beasts. I'm sorry I don't have the illustrations before us, but I hope you can follow. I know you can follow because you're familiar with it. There are 4 animals: lion, bear, leopard, and the terrible beast. Now, on the head of this terrible beast, there are 10 horns. These 10 horns are a part of the kingdom of Rome. So you have Rome with 10 sub-kingdoms within Rome. Among these kingdoms, there rises another kingdom, another little horn that pulled up 3 of the first horns. And this little horn became great. And it is this horn that is now speaking great words against God, is persecuting the saints of God, and is allowed to continue for 1,260 years. Now, I believe that this little horn does represent the papacy. I believe that this little horn does represent the kingdom that arose in Europe, which destroyed 3 other kingdoms and was very, very prominent in assaulting and destroying God's people and in speaking great words against God. Now, here in Revelation, we have the beast, and the beast is doing the same thing. Now, it's easy to say, well, the beast in Revelation 13 is the same beast in Daniel 7. And the horn that is on the head of this beast is a part of the beast. And so what we see the horn doing, it's represented that the beast is doing it in Revelation 13. But I will show you reasons why we have to question that conclusion. I'm going to show you the reasons, all right? So just bear that in mind, because I'm going to go now to my images in my PowerPoint presentation. Now, characteristics of the beast. We already looked at this to some extent, but I'm going to just go back over very quickly. 10 horns. Now, these 10 horns on the head of the beast, they represent powers in the future. They are not the same. They are not the same 10 horns that we saw on the head of the beast in Daniel 7. Remember, on the head of the beast in Daniel 7, there are 10 horns. One came up, uprooted 3, and then he remains. So how many do you have left? You have 8 now, because you have 7 plus 1 make 8, and the other 3 have been rooted up. So you end up with 8 horns. But the one here in Revelation 13, he has 10 horns. And this is not talking about 10 horns in the past, during the time when the papacy was dominant. Because it says that in Revelation 17, it tells us about these 10 horns. They have received no kingdom as yet. But when the beast receives power, then they will receive power as kings. They do not end up as being 8 horns. They end their career as 10 horns. So it's not the same 10 that we see in the book of Daniel. That is one of the clues that tells us, okay, something is different here. But there are many other differences that we will look at. So, the second thing that we highlight is that the beast has 7 heads. And these 7 heads, when we come to understand them, they show us that this beast, it doesn't represent, this beast in chapter 13, it does not represent simply the kingdom of Rome. It does not, because it has 7 heads. And we are told about these 7 heads that, let me use a little highlight here. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. So God shows us that this beast continues for a long time. He continues through the career of 7 different heads. 5 are already fallen. What does that mean? That means that they're gone. They're in the past. They don't exist in the present. They are fallen. Presently, there is 1. And then the other one does not yet exist. It has not yet come. So presently we have only 1 head. But we see 7 on the beast. And what this is telling us is that God is saying that this beast is representing many different powers, 7 different powers that go across centuries, maybe thousands of years. Why does God show us on 1 animal? Because God is saying this animal did not just come into existence. It was there from the beginning. It was there from long ago. But now Satan calls it up out of the sea because he's ready to use it in the end of time to do further damage to the cause of God. So he as it were, this beast is resurrected, comes back to life, and he's ready to do Satan's bidding. That is how I understand what we are looking at here. So we see 7 heads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 have fallen. 1 is still to come. And of course, the one that is existing probably is the lion's head, I would suppose. The head of a lion. But there are 5. They don't exist at this point in time, but they are telling us that we are looking at the beast as something that covers many ages. The name of blasphemy. On his head, there's the name of blasphemy. Now, it has been said that the most likely candidate is the Pope, because they say that the Pope titles himself Lord God the Pope. And there are many statements made by the Catholic Church where they have equated themselves with Christ and even with God. For somebody to title himself Lord God the Pope is the height of blasphemy. And of course, you know, they have said that the priest is able to change wine into the blood of Christ and bread into the flesh. And you know, there are so many statements they have made, atrocious and outrageous and blasphemous, that I don't want to even start enumerating them because we'll be going on for a long time this evening. But at the same time, this is not the only definition of blasphemy in the Bible. The word, the concept of blasphemy in the Old Testament is probably the most important concept that we should look at. Let us see how the word is used in the Old Testament. Let me quickly go to the place. Sorry, we should be in Revelation, not Daniel. On his head, the name of blasphemy. All right. So let me look up that quickly. And it's in 2 Kings 19. All right. 2 Kings 19 and verse 3. We see that in the right panel. The king of Assyria has sent an outrageous message to the king of Judah. And he tells him, which God is able to deliver you? I defeated all the countries, and their gods were not able to help. The gods of Hamath and Sepharvaim, and he goes on and he names these gods. And he says, so don't deceive yourself into thinking that Yahweh can deliver you. And Hezekiah sent to the prophet Isaiah. And the people who carried the message, they told him, thus saith Hezekiah, this day is a day of trouble and of rebuke and blasphemy. For the children are come to the birth, and they have not strength to bring forth. What they told Isaiah is that it was a day of blasphemy. Why? Because the heathen were disrespecting God. They were flying in the face of God. They were speaking words of contempt for God. And here in the Old Testament, this is described as blasphemy. So the word, when it says that this beast has upon his heads the name of blasphemy, there's more than one possibility as to what it means. It could be like the Catholic Church claiming to have the attributes of God, but it could also represent a power that simply stands up and defies God and challenges God and says, who is God? I don't care a penny about God. I don't care about God's authority or God's supposed power. No God can stop me. Something like this. All right? So anyway, so the name of blasphemy, just a comment on that. In Revelation 13 and verse 3, it says, I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And as I said, the belief is that this was fulfilled when the Roman Catholic Church had temporal power restored to the Pope. The Pope was once again made a head of state. The Vatican City, the Vatican was given to him as his dominion, and he was once again in charge of a kingdom where he could rule as king. So his temporal power was restored, and they say this was the healing of the deadly wound. It was given unto him to make war with the saints to overcome them. Now, first of all, there's no question that the beast in this identity at the end of time can only be Rome. Why can it only be Rome? Because Rome remains until the end. If you look at all the other prophecies, if you go to, for example, Daniel chapter 2, where it talks about the image, you can see that right down at the end, the last power that exists, just when the stone is cut out from the mountain, the last power that exists is the iron. Give me a second. I always need my fan. The last power that exists is the iron. Even though at the end the iron is mixed with clay. Clearly, we are told that iron represents the kingdom of Rome. So we have the gold, the silver, the brass, the iron, which is Rome, and then you have the kingdom of Rome divided up. But it's still Rome, but it's Rome in a weaker form. Why do I say it's still Rome? Because when you go to Daniel 7, we see that there are only 4 kingdoms apart from the kingdom of Christ. of worldly kingdoms, there are only four: the lion, the bear, the leopard, and the terrible beast. Babylon, Medo, Persia, Greece, Rome. The last power is Rome. In Daniel 2, Rome is destroyed by the stone. In Daniel 7, Rome is given to the burning flame. There's no power after kingdom number 4. So when you look at the feet of iron and clay, we can't say it's a different power. It's the same Rome. Daniel 7 shows us it's the same Rome. In Daniel 7, you have the 10 horns, but they are on the head of Rome. So they are a part of the Roman kingdom. Similarly, in Daniel 2, you have the feet of iron and clay, but they are a part of the feet. So it's the same kingdom of Rome, but it's Rome in a modified form. It's Rome with its identity modified slightly. So it has a different appearance, but it's the same Rome. That's what God shows us. Rome remains until the end. So when you see the beast in Revelation 13, it has to be Rome. It cannot be anything else. The beast in its final identity is Rome. But the interesting thing is, what kind of entity is Rome at the end? It's clearly not the same as it was before. Before it was iron legs, but now it's changed. It's feet of iron and clay, and so that change stands for something. So I'm going to bring it together by asking a question: how many beasts do we find in Revelation? For all of us, it might be a very simple question. There are two beasts. There is the beast that comes from the sea. There's the beast with the 7 heads, and there is another beast which comes up out of the earth, which has 2 horns. For us, it is very simple, but there are people I have encountered who insist that there are 3 or 4 beasts in Revelation. First of all, they take the dragon in Revelation 12 and they call the dragon one beast. Then they look at the beast in Revelation 13 and they say that is another beast. Then they look at the beast with the 2 horns and they say that is a third beast. And then they go to Revelation 17 and they see the beast that the woman is riding and they say that is a 4th beast. And that really complicates and confuses things. And no wonder these people who say this, they are themselves confused, because in actual fact, there are only 2 beasts in Revelation. We don't need to confuse things. The dragon is not a beast. I mean, literally, a dragon in the past, when dragons existed, a dragon might have been a beast, an animal. But in Revelation, God tells us very clearly that the dragon is Satan. The dragon is the one who controls all the beasts. So he's not a beast himself. So we shouldn't confuse it. He's never called a beast in the book of Revelation. In chapter 13, there are clearly 2 beasts. There's the one that comes out of the sea, and there's the one that comes out of the earth. The sea beast and the earth beast. So there are 2 beasts. So when we go to Revelation 17, and we see the woman riding a beast, is this a different beast? Now, what we're going to look at right here now, I'm going to show you from the Bible that there are only 2 beasts. There are not 3. And that is very important, because Revelation 17 helps us to clearly understand the beast in chapter 13. So we are looking at chapter 13. We are trying to understand the beast, but in order to understand the beast of chapter 13, Revelation 17 gives us some clues that are very important. That's why I want to make the point that there are only 2 beasts. I want to prove this so that when we are looking at the beast, we can say, okay, let's consult chapter 17, because it's the same beast, and see what information we can get in 17 to help us to clearly identify the beast. All right, I hope that that was comprehensible. Now, there are 4 places where we see the beast, where we have mention of the beast. The beast, the Bible says. It doesn't say which beast, it just says the beast. And that alone tells you that God assumes, the Bible assumes that there's only one beast, because it does not say beast number 1 or beast number 2. It just says the beast. Well, actually here, it gives him a slightly different description, which is interesting, but I'll explain why. In Revelation 11, in verse 7, it says, speaking about the 2 witnesses, and when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascended out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them. Now it says it's one particular beast, right? It's the one that ascends out of the bottomless pit. So we might be tempted to believe, okay, this is a different beast. There's the one in chapter 13 who came out of the sea, we might think. And here we see that this one comes out of the bottomless pit. So it seems like it's a different beast. Well, I'm going to show you that it's the same exact beast. That's a part of what I'm going to prove. So people will say, this one came from the bottomless pit. It represents an atheistic power. But the one that came from the sea represents a religious power. That's how people will reason. But I will show you, by comparing the scriptures, I will show you that the one from the pit and the one from the sea are the same exact beast. So why is it said that one comes from the sea and one comes from the pit? I will explain. It's because the beast from the sea disappears for a while, and when he comes back out of the bottomless pit. It's the same beast, but he disappears and then he reappears. We will see that very clearly. And when he comes back the second time, he is coming from the bottomless pit. That's why he's described this way. All right. The next place we see the beast is in Revelation 13. That's what we have been looking at. I won't even bother to read the text. But we see him there. The dragon calls him up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The third place we see the beast is in Revelation 17. And you will notice that I use the same exact image of the beast, because as far as I can tell with my limited intelligence, it's the same beast. But I will share my reasoning and you will probably come to my conclusion as well. But here it says that there's a woman sitting upon this beast now. That's what is different from chapter 13. In 13, there's no woman displayed. But in chapter 17, she's seen and she's riding the beast. But it tells you that the beast is full of names of blasphemy and he has 7 heads and 10 horns. It says the same thing here. Upon his heads, the name of blasphemy. Same thing. Upon his heads, the name of blasphemy. And it says also, he has 7 heads and 10 horns. Now it is inconceivable. It is inconceivable that at the end of time we have 2 kingdoms. A beast represents a kingdom. 2 kingdoms with 7 heads and 10 horns, and having on the heads the names of blasphemy. It's inconceivable that there are two kingdoms identical like this. 2 of them at the end of time. So we are talking about the same beast, and there's a lot more to identify them as being the same beast, but we'll look at that as we proceed. The fourth place that we see the beast is in Revelation 19. And here it says, I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies. It says the beast. It doesn't say which beast, but I guarantee you it's the same beast. Every time it says the beast, it's the same beast. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. So I believe that these 4 places we see the beast, the same beast described. Now I'm going to prove this to you. I'm going to do it by comparing one passage with another. So first of all, Revelation 19 is the key verse. Revelation 19 is the key passage that ties all these beasts together. Why do I say Revelation 19? Because Revelation 19 is the chapter that made me see. Because I also was puzzled by the beast in chapter 17. Because I was persuaded it's a different beast. It looks, the description is so unique. I'm thinking it has to be another beast. But then I was reading Revelation 19 and I saw where it says, I saw the beast and the kings And something struck in my mind, and I realized it had to be the same beast. Revelation 19 is the thing that ties all of these beasts together. So, what do we see in Revelation 19? It's the beast. Okay, there's the rascal. And he's there with the kings of the earth. That's important too. And their armies. That's important too. And they are gathered together to do what? To make war. These are key words, key statements. They are gathered together to make war against the one that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken, and here's somebody else. With him, the false prophet. And who is this false prophet? The one who did miracles before him, who had helped him to deceive those who had received the mark of the beast and them that worshipped his image. These both were thrown alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone. Now, here's the point. It's clear that this beast is the same Roman beast. Why? Because the last thing that happens to the beast is thrown into a lake of fire. And in Daniel 7, we are told that the beast is given to the burning flame. The beast is destroyed. The last enemy on this earth in this time is the beast, and he's thrown into the burning flame. And here we see the beast again, thrown into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. So we see that the last enemy is this beast, plus his friend, the false prophet. So look at these keywords. There's the beast, there's the kings of the earth and their armies, and they are gathered to make war. Along with them, there's a false prophet, the one who did miracles to support the beast when he was setting up the mark. So all of these are key markers that we are going to look at to show you the one beast is the same beast right throughout. Now, first of all, I want to compare the beast in chapters 13 and 19 to show you that it's the same beast. So remember, the key chapter is chapter 19. All right, chapter 19. That's the key chapter. So we're going to compare everything to chapter 19. We're going to start with chapter 13, and we're going to show how everything connects in chapter 19. So 13 and 19. In chapter 19, it says, we just read this. What we want is chapter 13. Compare chapter 19 to 13, and you'll see it has to be the same beast. First of all, we see the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that did miracles before him. Look at what it says about.
We lost your slide.
I just this thing is disobedient. Let me come back again, Sister Esther. I realize that I did lose you. It says that Sister Sky was made the presenter. I don't know what caused it to knock me off like that. But anyway, here we go again. Thank you. I have color coded it so you can see the places that are similar. All right. So it says that the false prophet who did miracles before the beast. And you go to Revelation 13 and you see that the false prophet, which is called the second beast, the beast that comes out of the earth, he deceives those who dwell on the earth by the means of the miracles which he was able to do in the sight of the beast. So you can see that in Revelation 13, in the right column, the false prophet is identified as the beast that comes up out of the earth. He's able to do miracles, and he uses these to deceive the people who dwell on the earth. Notice the area of his work. He deceived those who received the mark of the beast. And up here it says, in chapter 13, it says he deceived those that dwell on the earth. And he told them that they should receive this mark. So what I'm saying is that when you compare chapter 19 and chapter 13, the same characters are there. Who is this beast in chapter 19? It's the beast who was supported by the false prophet. He was supported by this false prophet. The false prophet supported him by doing miracles in his presence. And when you go to chapter 13, you see clearly this means that the beast now is this beast of chapter 13, because he's the one in chapter 13 who is supported by this beast that comes from the earth. So we see the connection. Chapter 13 and chapter 19 are connected. There's no question. Chapter 13 beast is the same beast that we see in chapter 19. Now, this also is very important. Let me show you why it is so important. Look at this woman in the woman in Revelation 17. We know that this woman it represents the false religious entities of this world. And it surely includes, at the very least, it includes the Roman Catholic system. At the very least, it says the kings of the earth have committed fornication with this woman, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with her fornication. Now, what happens to this woman? Look at what happens to the woman. It says a little further down in verse 16. And the 10 horns which you saw upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. That includes the Roman Catholic system. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. That is the destiny of that false religious system. But what about the beast? The beast is the one who carries the horns which destroy the woman. So the beast and the woman are two different entities. They are not the same. There's an enmity developed between them at the end. And so the horns destroy the woman, but the beast continues. And that is why we see the beast at the end, standing there to make war against Christ with his false prophet Paul, his false prophet supporter, and the both of them are thrown into the lake of fire. So the beast of 13 and the beast of 19 are the same beast. As a matter of fact, the both of them. Although one is called a false prophet in Revelation 19. Next, we will compare 17 and 19. If 13 and 19 is the same beast, and 17 and 19 is the same beast, then 17 and 13 must be the same beast, right? That's a little bit of algebra there, but everybody should be able to follow that. Now, the beast of 19 again. In chapter 19 again, we go back to chapter 19. It says that I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, and with their armies, and they are gathered to do what? To make war against the one sitting on the horse. Now go to chapter 17, and what do we see? We see God describing this beast in chapter 17, and he says, these 10 horns are 10 kings. These 10 kings will give their power and their strength to the beast. And what does it say? I saw the kings of the earth. The kings of the earth, with their armies gathered together to make war. Look what it says. These 10 kings, these shall make war with the Lamb. I saw in chapter 19, I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to do what? To make war with the Lamb. To make war against him that sat on the horse. So, again, it's clear that the beast in chapter 19 is the same as the beast in chapter 17. What God says that the one in 7 will do, we see the one in 19 fulfilling it. Chapter 17 comes before 19. I should have had chapter 17 in the left panel so we have the right order. But in chapter 17, God tells you what they will do. And in chapter 19, we see them doing it. So the conclusion is that the beast you see in chapter 17 is the same beast in chapter 19. And that makes us conclude then, okay, then the beast of 17 must be the same as the beast of chapter 13. I mean, there are many evidences, but this is another evidence. So in everything, it's the same beast. So why is that so important? We're going to come to that point. The beast in chapter 13 and 17, then, as I said, they are the same beast. And we looked at this already. They have the names of blasphemy, both of them. They have the 7 heads and 10 horns. They are the same. So there are so many evidences that point out that all these beasts are the same. And of course, the one in chapter 13, it says that it was given unto this one to make war with the saints. In the one in chapter 17, it says, these shall make war with the Lamb. Similar statements. God is pointing us in that direction, and he's saying, if you want to understand the one in 13 better, look at what is said about the one in 17. And we're going to look at that in just a moment, a little more closely. Now, here's the one in 13. Here's the one in 17. Look at this statement. In chapter 13, when it talks about what the deadly wound, when it talks about the deadly wound of the beast, it says, all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Hold on a minute. Let me go back to the Bible to show you the context of that. Let's go back to the Bible. Let's go to Revelation 13, the verse we just read. Look at what it says. I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Notice what happens. He has a deadly wound, his wound is healed, and then the world wanders after the beast. So let's look back at this again. Okay, no, that's not where I should have read a little further down to verse 8. And in verse 8 it says, verse 7 it says, it was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all the nations. And at that point it says, all those who live on the earth will worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain from the foundation of the world. So look at chapter 17. It says the same thing about the beast in 17. All that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. They that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names are not written in the book of life, whose names were not written in the book of life. It says the same thing about the career of these two beasts. And it's the same exact words. God is showing us that it's the same event, because it says, were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. In chapter 13, there's a little bit of a mistranslation, because it says, were not written in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain from the foundation of the world. But this is a wrong translation. The translation, this is a mistranslation, and I'm going to show you in just a moment. But let me cross it out so we read it right. Look at both passages now, and you'll see they read the same. All that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. Look at the one on the right. They that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. From the foundation of the world is referring to when names were written in the book, not to when Jesus was slain, because Jesus was not slain from the foundation of the world. Everybody uses that verse, but it's a mistranslation. Christ was not slain from the foundation of the world. And the way they use it, they say Jesus was slain from the foundation of the world. So the life of Christ was available from the foundation of the world. And the kingdom was available from the foundation of the world. And the new birth was available from the foundation of the world, because Christ was slain from the foundation of the world. False theology. And it's based on a verse that is a mistranslation. But Revelation 17 shows us what it really means.
The NASB words it, everyone whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain.
That's chapter 13 from which version?
NASB.
NASB, right. And I was about to look at that, but since you went there, but just so that everybody can actually look at it, let me actually look at it. NASB. NASB. Let me bring it up on the right panel. Look at what it says in the NASB. Brother Judah just read it. But here is the same Revelation 13 in the King James Version. Somebody's mic is unmuted. Please mute. Please mute. In the King James Version, it says, the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. But the NASB and every other version will tell you, whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain. So it's the book of life of the Lamb who was slain, but it was written in that book. The foundation of the world has reference to the time when the names were written in the book. Okay, so both statements are actually, both passages, Revelation 13 and Revelation 17, are saying the same thing, and they are identifying the beast and the career of the beast and the response to the beast. It's the same in both chapters. Now, somebody was unmuted just now. Did that person want to say something?
No,
Okay,
that's what
all
I
right.
missed you.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to make sure I was not disenfranchising you. Now, in chapter 13, it says of the beast, I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wandered after the beast. Look what it says in chapter 17. These are parallel passages, and they are provoking, they are thought-provoking. Look at what it says. The beast that you saw was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wander. They that dwell on the earth shall wander. It says, when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is. All the world wandered after the beast. But I want you to look at what comes before we come to this statement. Look at what comes before. One of his heads wounded to death. The beast appears to be dead. This is the period when the beast is not. He appears to be dead. His deadly wound was healed. This appears to be the time when the beast ascends out of the bottomless pit. So, comparing these two passages, we are getting a clearer picture of the career of the beast. Revelation 17 is clearly talking about the last moments of time. So if Revelation 17 is parallel to Revelation 13, then Revelation 13 is not talking about the beast in the dark ages. It's not talking about the beast hundreds of years ago. It's talking about the beast in the end time also. That's what I mean when I say, if you compare the passages, you begin to get a better idea of what is going on in chapter 13. Revelation 17 shows us that we are talking about the end of time. The beast was, is not, and will come out of the bottomless pit. And when that happens, everybody that lives on the earth shall wander after this beast. And the word is wonder, not wander. Not like they go around following the beast, but the word wonder means that they are in amazement. They're astonished to see this beast come back to life. But when he comes back to life, he comes out of the bottomless pit. In other words, he comes from a place of great spiritual darkness, a place of hopelessness. So, I'm going to go back to the Bible in a little bit and just try to show you these things in context. We already looked at this, or we didn't. Let me just highlight these main points. The beast of 13 exists at the end, so does the one in 17. The one in 13 has 7 heads, so does the one in 17. The one in 13 has 10 horns, so does the one in 17. The one in 13 has the names of blasphemy, so does the one in 17. The one in 13 fights against the saints, so does the one in 17. Fights against the saints, fights against Christ, it's the same thing. The one in 13, the world wonders at him. The one in 17, the world wonders at him. The one in 13 disappears and then reappears. He gets a deadly wound which is healed. The one in 17, the same thing happens. He was, is not, and then he reappears. It's the same thing about both beasts, but in some cases the words are a little different. but it helps us to understand the beast in 13 a little better. So let me go back to the Bible now and just highlight some of the points of this beast in 13. And maybe at that point, we're just going to kind of pause or maybe stop for this evening, take questions, right? So the beast, it says, I saw one of his deadly wounds as it were wounded, one of his heads. What am I saying? I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. If we believe Revelation 17, this is something that happens at the end of time, not during the dark ages, because Revelation 17 shows us that let me go down to Revelation. The beast that you saw was and is not and shall come out of the abyss and go to destruction. Let me take the King James Version here. I like the language, it's similar. Was and is not, shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. So it's the same thing as what we see here in chapter 13. Now, since this Revelation 17 is telling us what happens at the end of time, then we have to put Revelation 13 in the same place. So when it talks about this power given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months, I am suggesting to you that this 40 and 2 months is the 3.5 years, the 12, the 42 months, the 1260, the times and a half when the two witnesses prophesy in sackcloth, the 3.5 year period when God's people are to be persecuted by this beast. So the beast, it seems to me, is focusing on an end time manifestation of the beast, not the dark ages, not the 1260 years of the past, but it's showing you the work of the beast in the present. And there comes up the second beast to help him, but we are going to look at that next week. But I think it's looking at the career of the beast in the present. And so to put this passage in the historical past, I believe we are looking at it the wrong way. I believe that in the historical past, the horn in Europe, the horn representing the papacy, did persecute God's people for 1260 years. I think so. But there is a parallel now. There is a repetition where we come to the end of time, and the beast himself now, he does a similar work, and the tendency is to think it's the same thing as that horn in Daniel 7. But when we compare 13 with 17, as I'm saying, it's clear, it seems clear to me that what we are looking at in chapter 13 is an end time work by the beast and not the horn that was on the head of the beast. So when it says all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, according to what we see in chapter 17, this is what we are looking for in our day. This beast is to have a restoration of power, and the whole world is going to be amazed. Maybe we are seeing it already. It depends on how we understand this beast power. The whole world is going to be amazed, and they are going to wonder after the beast. They are going to wonder at the beast, I should say. So I know there are, I've left more questions than answers, of course, but those are questions. Many of these questions are questions that I myself am seeking to have better understanding of. But I'm going to stop here.